Coming up tonight on the Cruise View, Quantum starts rocking and rolling. Plus, we take a look at Wonderland and see what kind of imaginative cuisine they can come up with next. And we had probably the best interview of the entire series as I get to sit down with William Close and find out how the Earth Harp works. It's all coming up, so let's set sail. Welcome to the 18th episode of the Cruise View, day number 10B on board the Quantum of the Seas. And today, as mentioned yesterday, we were expected to get some rough seas overnight, and they certainly did deliver. We had pretty rough sea conditions throughout the evening and the night. As soon as the episode ended, I went up onto the pool deck just to see what was going on. And already at that point, the waves in the outdoor pool were splashing up higher than the North Star, so that's 2 decks higher than the pool level. And that's a pretty big wave, even if we couldn't feel too much on the actual ship. You could certainly look at the horizon and see that things are going up and down. The waves out on the ocean do look a little bit rough, but they are still, according to the captain, only about 10 feet, which isn't too bad. And when I look at the weather radar, I'm only seeing about 10 to 15 foot range for our location, so it's certainly not massive waves, but it is having a major effect on the pools and a lot of the outdoor areas. This evening, things are continuing to be rough. As you can see in the pool behind me, there's still a lot of rocking back and forth, and of course that means that all these pools are closed as they are not safe to be in. And this is sort of expected for the winter in the Atlantic Ocean when you're headed north, but not quite at the point we are. We're not all the way up north. We're still only at, according to our noontime location, 28 degrees and 37 minutes north by 68 degrees and 9 minutes west. So that is much lower than you'd expect, but it's more that nor'easter off the Carolina coast that is causing this condition than the fact that it is winter in the Atlantic Ocean. As for the rest of the weather today, we had a sunrise at 7:10 a.m. this morning and a sunset at 5:36 p.m. We had a high of 77 degrees, and I believe that is about all we hit. I checked the TV a couple times. We got right up to there, but it did not exceed it, unlike a couple other days recently where we did surpass the forecasted high. It was extremely windy today. If you went out on the pool deck areas, there was a lot of wind, a big difference from the past several days where it was rough but very calm conditions. And of course, the seas were rough. The forecast, according to the captain, was only 10 feet, and looking at the radar, it appears to only be 10 to 15 feet, so that is a pretty accurate forecast. Yet when I'm in my balcony cabin on deck number 10, the very first one on the port side, occasionally I'll hear the ship give out a shudder, look to the balcony, and see water flying past the window. So it's only 10-foot waves, but clearly there's something else happening. It's certainly having a much bigger impact on the ship than you would expect from this size wave. But there's still a lot of things to do on board the ship today. It was a full compass schedule, so we'll get on to that summary now. And this morning, for me at least, it started at 8 a.m. with the DreamWorks character breakfast, which takes place in Silk. I mentioned it shortly last sailing, but this sailing I once again did it a second time at the end. And today, I know there were 75 children total on this entire sailing, and there were only 4 in the room. So it's meant to be more of a kids/family breakfast, and today was definitely more of an older, more adult crowd. So it was a little more comfortable to be sitting in there and meeting all those characters. Today it was the shark characters, and if you've never done the character breakfast, it is a similar menu to what American Icon offers for breakfast, except with more chocolate items, themed items for whatever DreamWorks characters are big at the moment. And then, continuing with that DreamWorks theme, today at both 12:30 and 1:30, we once again had another pair of those DreamWorks performances located in the Royal Esplanade. Today's was the Shark Dance Party, which was hosted by the Fairy Godmother. And of course, just like the other three, it featured a singer from Mamma Mia along with dancers from both the Starwater cast and the Mamma Mia cast. And then at 1:15 today, unlike last sailing where it was held on the very last day, today was the Captain's Corner. And it was a very different Captain's Corner than last week. Very different than anyone I've seen. In my opinion, it was probably the worst Captain's Corner I've seen, and you could clearly tell from all the officers they were not too pleased with it either. Normally, Captain's Corner, a bunch of officers come out and they get to answer questions about technical things, what their job entails, how the ship works. Today, it really turned into a big "I'm Diamond, you didn't do this for me, make up for it now" kind of party. It was all people complaining they weren't happy with dynamic dining. That was, I think, 3 or 4 questions, and a lot of people just saying, "My cabin's noisy. It's rough, it's a ship, it moves." I don't know what they expect, but clearly they've never sailed in a rough seas before. If you've ever been on a transatlantic in the Northern Atlantic Ocean, or just sailed out of Cape Liberty or any other northern port in winter, you'll experience rough conditions. You'll hear the ship make a ton of noise. It's completely normal. But that was a good majority of the questions, and even after the hotel director told them, "Stop asking these questions. If you want, you can talk at the end and get the cabin number, take care of it, figure out what can be done about it," they continued to ask the same repetitive complaints, really not even questions, things that were only relevant to them and not the group, and really, in my opinion, wasted everyone's time. But there were a few pieces of information in it all, so of course you can watch the whole thing, listen to the complainers if you enjoy that, and of course hopefully learn something from the piece of information it did provide, including a very good question at the end about what exactly happens when the captain pulls a ship into a port for the very first time. What kind of festivities, what people come on board? That was certainly, in my opinion, the best question of the night, and one that you should go check out and see what his response was. The big thing, though, that I noticed was a lot of complaints about dynamic dining, a lot of people not happy with changing dining rooms, in general, just dynamic dining. They really didn't give too many reasons, but last week we did not have a single complaint about it, and I think that really kind of shows just how, I guess, annoyed people were with the fact that it was not treated as an inaugural, that the entire focus was on that, and everyone kind of ignored dynamic dining and forgot just how upset they might have been about it, because things were so much worse than that. Whereas this week it's really been a smooth sailing. There haven't been too many issues. In my opinion, it's been just business as usual for the ship, and that's a good thing. And as a result, all people had to complain about really was dynamic dining, which of course they found the same thing to complain about over and over. But moving on from the Captain's Corner, of course, we then have our evening events, and tonight was Sonic Odyssey for me. And of course, if you haven't seen the previous mentions of Sonic Odyssey, you can check the link out. I did discuss it the last sailing when I went to it, but I'll expand on a little more today, some other areas of it. Of course, it is the William Close show that features all of his custom instruments, especially the Earth Harp, and it is very heavy on the music element of it. It very much feels like a traditional Royal Caribbean song and dance show that you might see on other ships, but with that extra William Close magic added to it that really gives it a fresh and vibrant feel that I think everyone's really going to enjoy. It's definitely a special show, one of the, if not the best, Royal Caribbean production at the Royal Theaters put on beyond, the Broadways, because it's really hard to kind of compare something like Mamma Mia, Sonic Odyssey. They're really different audiences. But in terms of the regular Royal Caribbean productions, it is certainly one of, if not the top show. And one of the elements that people haven't really discussed at this point is there is actually technology in it. There's a lot of focus on 270 and those Vistaromas that just fill the entire back of the room. But in Sonic Odyssey, they actually have a giant LED board that fills the entire back of the stage, along with a couple movable LED board panels that sync up and kind of act like the robots do, where they know where they are relative to each other and can show overlapped content. These work the same way. They can overlap each other and they can move around and keep that screen looking like a perfect picture. The other really cool element was that they have lifters, like every stage does, but they put that same LED technology on there. So there's one scene in particular where the camera's moving through to the staircase, and you see the full backboard zoom in on the staircase, and then you see the risers lift, and the LEDs match the stairs so that as they're rising, that image sort of stays there. So you don't even notice the lifters are really there, but the cast can then walk up those stairs and look like they're in the video. So that's a pretty neat thing, and I think it's one of those elements that most people watching Sonic Odyssey are really going to be so engulfed in the incredible instruments and everything else that goes on that you'll kind of forget there is all this extra technology and there is a lot of other elements going on within the show beyond those instruments. And of course, coming up later in our interview, we'll have a whole lot more on Sonic Odyssey and that Earth Harp. But following the Sonic Odyssey performance, I headed over to 270, where they did have the premiere of the very first virtual concert, and it was Santa Fe and the Fat City Horns. It was a very early show, you could tell. It certainly has potential. It looks like it's going to be an incredible thing. There's still a little bit of quirkiness to it. It's a very cool technology, very similar to the Cityscape Vistarama, in which the Cityscape one, which you saw in the background of a previous episode, as the day to night transition went across the room, all the lighting in the room sort of mimicked that transition. And the same thing happens with these virtual concerts. You've essentially got a Vistarama that is the band. It's sort of like the Gatsby scene in Starwater, in which the Vistarama isn't a background, but it looks like an extension of that stage in the foreground. So it looks like that band is up on stage performing for you. And then they take it a step farther and integrate all the lighting. So you've got a light rig that goes right up and around the band on their stage. And those lights that are playing on them are mimicked within the venue. So you see those lights turn blue and shine out, and you see the lights in the venue turn blue and shine out. So it really kind of makes that Vistarama and the venue blend together. But so it looks like a great potential. It's going to be really cool. At this point, though, there's still a few moments where the lights were green in the video, but they were blue in the theater. Little things like that. And based on what I've seen with the Robo shows, where they are still continuously every night tweaking them, they premiered a new version of the Robo shows today that you would never even know was different, but they know it was different because it's slightly tighter, slightly cleaner, and looks better apparently, and that's the key. They weren't ready to accept it as it is, and I think we're going to see the same thing with virtual concerts. They sort of put it out there today, let everybody see it, get some feedback, and I'm sure they're going to keep tightening that up, get that lighting closer and closer until it looks perfect. And I think when that happens, it's really going to be incredible because it already looks incredible. It's certainly worth taking the time to just sit and listen, especially if it's a band that you're familiar with or a style of music that you like. The one thing that's a little odd about it is the robots. They feel a little bit forced in it. The band is out on the Vistarama on their stage, but they'll occasionally pop up to the robots, and it just kind of takes you out of the moment, takes you out of the fact that it's a concert, because now you've got these people sort of floating out there in their close-up shot, so it doesn't even look like them, but at the same time they take them out of the background. In my opinion, it should be more like the big screen that you see at a concert where they're still in the background on that Vistarama, but you get that nice close-up shot, something like that. And of course, they're continuously working, so maybe in the long run they'll come to that conclusion as well. We'll just have to wait and see, but it'll be interesting to see what other virtual concerts they come out with. And of course, 270 is a high-tech venue, the most high-tech on board the ship, with a lot of cool little toys to play with, a lot of different elements to bring into all their little shows and stunts. But sometimes I think they may try to just pull a little too much. This may be one of those cases where the robots should just be left up in the ceiling and not utilized. I don't know that they really added to the value of it, and they may have actually taken away, so perhaps maybe even in the future just bring the robots down to show the band title and then bring them back up to the ceiling, not really use them as shots. It might work a little better and keep that sort of imagery of it being an extension of the stage rather than watching a video, because it certainly does take you out of the moment when those do pop up. And then after the virtual concert, we have not had a pool deck party on either sailing at this point. Really no parties or events on the pool decks at all, especially at night. Tonight they had the Sunshine Club Solarium Bar party located in the adult solarium, and that is the closest we've come to a pool deck party. It's not really a pool deck party, it's more of they took the DJ from 270 because they are working on that virtual concert right now, and they stuck her up in the solarium today and have her DJing music up there. So pretty much those people just moved up there. Not really too much special about it, just a normal DJ event, but of course it is in the adult solarium, and that is a different venue, one that I thought they would actually use as a club a little more, because they do have a lot of cool lighting up there. Even though it's not used as a club, every night it does have LED lights that change colors, really sort of give it that club atmosphere. So in the long run, I think they'll probably end up using it as a club more often, maybe even moving that DJ from 270 up to the solarium permanently and putting something a little more relaxing in 270, where I think the audience will accept it a little better. So that about does it for our compass summary. As you can tell, it was a much fuller day of events, even with this kind of rough weather. The rough weather really didn't affect too much. The outdoor pools, of course, were empty. The indoor pools were full. North Star, of course, was closed because of the weather. That was the only thing that was really affected during the day as far as activities. Tonight, the showing of Star Water was also canceled and rescheduled for tomorrow. But overall, it's rough. But the Quantum's built for this. It's built for rough seas. It's built for staying indoors. And on days like today, it certainly showed that it did not feel crowded, and there was plenty of things to do without ever going outside. So, she's passing the test at this point. And now, moving on to our final official daily dine, we have what is, in my opinion, the coolest restaurant on board the Quantum of the Seas, and it is actually the first pay restaurant I've ever actually gone to. It is Wonderland Imaginative Cuisine.
Okay, welcome to Wonderland. My name's Oliver. I will be your guide through this culinary experience. So, what is Wonderland? I'm going to take you down the rabbit hole to explore food. Here we have fun, imaginative cuisine. There's no formality, there's no structure. Everything's wacky, everything's crazy. So the venue's been developed by Chef Cornelius Gallagher. Beautiful food. It's more of a molecular gastronomy. So if you think Heston Blumenthal on a ship. So come closer, I will be happy to show you the menu. So as you can see, the menu is blank. It's obviously starting off quite low fat. So then we take our magic brush, we dab it in our water pail to reveal our menu. So the menu is blank until we reveal it with the water and the brush. And revealed in front of you is no longer a first course, second course or third course. What we have is a selection of Mother Nature's key elements. This is key elements in food, and some dishes are itty bitty tiny, some are ginormous. So it's our job as your culinary guide to make you a roadmap. So we're going to create a menu for you which is shared for the whole table. It's a wonderful sharing experience. Food comes out at rapid pace, different timings. You might end up with a giant plate of beef at one time. You might end up with a micro tiny olive. So we begin, we have under the sun. This is everything grown under the sun. We've got our signature item, baby vegetables in the garden. Then we've got this wonderful baby beets. These are beets sit in a spicy sriracha yogurt. So wonderful liquid manzanilla olives. So as we jump further down the line, you've got this very, very tasty ice section. This is oceanic citrus tuna. This is a tuna tartare, yuzu granate, and a very nice Tobacco caviar. You've got smoked salmon, mini bagels. Very, very nice idea. You've got sashimi. So this is red and white sashimi rolled with Greek yogurt, bean sprouts. Then again, we're going to move further down the line into fire, where we go for buffalo chicken eggs. These are all the flavors of the buffalo chicken wing. Smoked, very exciting. Then we'll go for a little tiny duck liver fritter. This is duck liver from the which has been put in a panko breadcrumb. It explodes in the mouth with flavor. You've got tempura kimchi. This is wonderful perel leaf dipped in tempura batter fried spicy mayo. So then we're going to move further down into the sea section. So this one is a wonderful liquid lobster. So you take lobster with bone marrow, Armagnac lobster bisque with caviar sitting on top. Then we move further down, and you've got halibut cooked in a clear paper on papillotes. This is halibut, 3 different types of mushroom and bacon, cooked in a bag with mushroom and vermouth sauce. Then we go for a stunning branzino. This is European-style sea bass with a piece of Pullman white loaf, coconut-infused basmati rice. Then we jump to the earth section. This is the big section. We've got these little tiny truffled eggs. These are some of nature's key items which are often overlooked. This is an egg which has been truffled down with bacon, chives, cream, and black truffles of a little soldier brioche. Then we jump to the giant sharing portions. This is wonderful pork. This is a Cuban-style pork, so pork shank, Cuban flavors, exotic coleslaw, mojo sauce to finish. Then there's one of our signature items, which is a beef. This is a short rib on a beef that looks like a long rib. It's a short rib sitting on breadcrumbs. You've got loads of river potatoes on there, which are supposed to be potatoes which form the appearance of rocks with a very delicious bordelaise. Then we've also got a sous vide chicken. This is chicken cooked to an optimal temperature to keep it nice, fresh and juicy with a crispy chicken skin. And then after all this is revealed, we have our dream selection. The dream selection is our selection of very, very stunning desserts. This is presented to you in a very little handy box for the table. So if you come closer, I will show you. You are presented with our wonderful box. Inside is a key to open your book. And then we have the Queen of Hearts. So the Queen of Hearts, very unique idea, kind of fits with the theme of the restaurant. Flip it around, and there's our dessert menu. So we go for a warm chocolate molten cake with a pistachio ice cream, which has been made of liquid nitrogen. Then you go for a key lime lollipop, so it's a chocolate key lime mousse sitting on a stick, graham crackers, strawberry glass, very interesting. Then there's a cheesecake, vanilla cheesecake with an apple and wasabi air, which will pick you up and drop you down. It's fantastic. Then there's a Boston cream pie maze. This is a deconstructed version of the famed Boston cream pie. You have diplomat cream on there, chocolate covered pop rocks, very wacky. And then there's a very traditional item, which is a baked Alaska done in a unique way. This is heavy chocolate ice cream. You've got meringue with cinnamon, vanilla, and chili. That's our menu. Come and experience the wonder and the magic that is Wonderland. Enjoy your journey.
And so, as you can tell, Wonderland is a very unusual restaurant. Certainly different than anything else that Royal Caribbean offers on any ship, and even anything offered by any cruise line at sea at this point. It is a completely different dining experience, and one that you will certainly never forget. If you go in there expecting top quality food, normal, sit down, have a nice meal, you're gonna be disappointed. You really wanna go there for the experience, because that is what it's all about. It's about seeing all these crazy dishes being presented to you and just trying all these wacky items and just seeing what it's like. It's all about that experience, and if you go in there looking for that great experience, you're certain to find it and you'll definitely enjoy it. And now, moving on to our venue tour for today. It is the largest theater on board the ship, the Royal Theater. The Royal Theater, the largest venue on board the Quantum of the Seas, spanning decks 3, 4, and 5, allows for a capacity of 1,300 guests. It's accessible from either decks 4 or 5 on either starboard or port side, giving guests access to the primary level on deck number 4 with regular style seating in the middle, along with an upper level of stadium style seating around the outside, as well as on deck 5, a balcony offering more stadium style seating overlooking the theater. Each level is also connected internally by a stairwell in either of the back corners, and the stage itself features a rounded stage with a complete orchestra pit that can be lowered or raised depending on the production needs, as well as a box to either side of the stage, allowing for the band to stay off stage but still visible to the audience. As the largest venue on board the ship, it of course is used for many of the primary entertainment functions, including games such as the Love and Marriage game show, as well as the guest entertainers and headliner acts, and of course the major production shows on board, such as the 2.5-hour Broadway performance of Mamma Mia. And it gets turned into an instrument as the Earth Harp spans from the stage into built-in attachments on the balcony itself to turn the entire theater into the Earth Harp for Sonic Odyssey. And as an added bonus, all the seats include air conditioning in the back so that for those long 2.5-hour productions you can keep cool while watching. And of course, the Royal Theatre is home to many things, as I mentioned, including Sonic Odyssey, the show from today, that it was created by William Close himself, who is on board performing in those shows. And today I got to sit down and interview him, as well as check out the Earth Harp. Now today we've got a very special interview. I'm with William Close in the Royal Theatre, the creator of the Earth Harp and Sonic Odyssey. Thank you for joining me.
Oh, my pleasure.
So, you've obviously been creating a lot of interesting instruments for years. How did you get started with this?
Well, I went to art school and I was studying sculpture, music, a little bit of architecture, sound design, painting, video, a lot of different things. Mm-hmm. And then started to combine those, and originally started creating sound sculptures, so sculptures that made sound, and then they dovetailed into actual functioning musical instruments. And I think the first piece I built was called the exhaust pipe harp, and it was literally an exhaust pipe that I turned into a harp, and and then went from there. I started playing that out in clubs and stuff, and people really liked it, and I was like, oh, all right, maybe I'm onto something. So, I explored a lot of drum stuff, a lot of string stuff, some wind instruments, and eventually, built the Earth Harp and some of the other wild instruments that are here in Sonic Odyssey.
Yeah. So now, you mentioned the Earth Harp. Obviously, it's in a theater, but it's not called a theater harp. So how did it get its name?
Well, the Earth Harp, the first time I created the Earth Harp, I had the idea that I wanted to actually, turn the landscape, or the earth, part of the earth, into a giant instrument. So what I did is I mounted a series of chambers on one side of a valley, and I ran the strings clear across to the other side, turning that valley into a giant harp. And that's really where it gets its title, turning the earth into a harp. So it really was the first time that someone had actually strung the earth before. So I figured it's a apropos title,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the whole world pretty much found out about the Earth Harp when you were on America's Got Talent. I know I personally watched it and voted for you throughout the process. So what was that like, getting into the spotlight?
I've always been building the instruments, and before America's Got Talent, I was definitely doing a lot of work. But what was really fun about that project is, for one, I was creating, performance and music for film or TV, and it allowed me to kind of create in a different way, because the camera, we'd be thinking about the camera shots and and all that sort of stuff. And then once I started to get such a great response to it from the judges and from the country, it was really exciting, and it definitely has really expanded the fan base, and really opened up a lot of interesting potential and opportunities. So it's been great. Yeah.
So now you're obviously on board the Quantum of the Seas, working with Royal Caribbean. How did you get paired up with them?
Well, originally my work was part of a proposal that was kind of a different project. And then what Royal Caribbean really responded to was the William Close stuff in the proposal. So they asked me to work with Under the Radar and come up with a show concept. And so we did, and then we ended up working with a music director from Royal Caribbean and some choreographers, and built this show, Sonic Odyssey. And it's a show. Some of the pieces are kind of based on the musical instruments that I've developed, which is exciting for me. Through the years, I've actually created over 100 unique instruments. And this show has, has a bunch of them in it, like 15. So, the other instruments in the show are the aquatar, which is this sort of 3-neck guitar piece. It's a sculpture. The drum jacket, it's a wearable, percussion jacket. I developed that. The drumbrellas are these sort of umbrellas of drums, and then the drum wall is really cool. The drum wall actually is sort of architecture made out of drums. So it's pretty exciting. And yeah, it's been a really fun process. And I think the show has something sort of for everybody, whether you like classical music, or you like more of a pop experience, or maybe more classic rock. There's sort of some of that for everybody, or actually even straight Broadway. There's some like Broadway style vocals in it, and it's pretty cool.
And now I saw Sonic Odyssey last sailing when it first premiered, and the one thing that really jumped off the stage to me was just seeing you off to the side, really appreciating the artwork of your own instruments. But now obviously you won't be able to stay on this ship forever. So how is that transition going to work for somebody else to take over your role?
Well, one of the things that I originally, when we came up with the concept, it was evident that obviously I do a lot of touring and I can't stay on the ship. So we needed to come up with a plan for someone who could sort of play the maestro role. And we found Jonathan, who was going to step in, and he's playing all the Earth Harp parts and all the wild instruments, and so he's going to take over, and we'll go from there.
So right now we can obviously hear a lot of noise around us. The ship's really creaking and changing its shape. How does that affect things like the Earth Harp?
Well, the Earth Harp, believe it or not, tension does not make much difference with this instrument. It's all about distance. So it's all about the length of the strings and of the tuning blocks that are on them. So even though the theater is definitely moving, the Earth Harp will be just fine. So.
Okay. Now, would you mind taking a few minutes to just show us a little bit about the Earth Harp?
Yeah, let's do it. All right, so we're here actually in the strings of the Earth Harp, and you can see the strings come into the bridge here, and that's sort of where they end, and then they travel out all the way out over the audience to the back of the theater and attach into the balcony, and technically turn the theater itself into the instrument. So the way it's played is I wear gloves with violin rosin on them, and when I pinch the string and run my hand along it, it produces what's called a compression wave. It's very similar to running your finger on the edge of a wine glass. Every string is a different note. That's why it's considered a harp. And the way it's tuned, if we pivot over here to the other side, this is the high side. You can see out there's some tuning blocks on each string. And the further out the block is, the lower the pitch. So this will be the highest note. And then as I go down the scale, the blocks get further and further away. And then all the way down to this side. That's the lowest note, which is the low G, which is about, I think it's about 57 feet in this room. All right, and that's pretty much the scoop on the Earth Harp.
So, is there anything else that you would like to tell the viewers before we end?
You know, I just encourage everybody to come and check out this really beautiful ship, and you know, come see Sonic Odyssey, and you know, I think there's really something for everybody here, hopefully, and I hope you enjoy the show. Thanks.
Thank you for taking the time to talk to us.
All right.
And of course, William Close was an incredible guy, as you could tell from that video. So after that interview, he actually let me stick around and watch as he tuned the Earth Harp. So let's take a look at that.
Now one of the strings is a little out of tune, so I'm actually able to tighten the string and actually decrease the length of it and allow the pitch to change. That's what we're doing here. Let's see how we got there. Perfect. All right. Check all the pitches. See a little bit.
How many of these Earth Harps are there?
I have about 20 of them. Built about 20 of them through the years.
Was this one built specifically for the ship?
Yeah, I built this one specifically for the show. Let's see what we got here. Nice. Nice. Now let's see this flat. Jeez. Wow. That. All right. Yeah, we're good to go. Here. to go. And we're all tuned up, ready for the show.
But he didn't stop there. I also got to play the Earth Harp myself, which was an incredible experience. It is surprisingly easy to play. It really, truly is just slide your fingers down those strings and it makes an incredible sound.
Nice. You got a good touch.
It really is an incredibly simplistic instrument at a grand scale, and it takes over the entire Royal Theatre. It is an incredible feeling to be up there and just have all those massive wires playing that sound as you slide your fingers. You can feel all those vibrations. It is truly an incredible instrument. And of course, I gotta thank William Close for taking the time to talk to us and show us all that great in-depth detail on how that Earth Harp works. And of course, if you want to see William Close in Sonic Odyssey, you got to come before the end of the year. In January, he will be leaving. So if you do get a chance to get on board before January, be sure to check him out in Sonic Odyssey. And while he's on board, he's all around the ship. So if you run into him at all, be sure to stop and say hi and let him know just how much you appreciate his work and those incredible instruments, because they are an incredible sight to see, and I know you will enjoy Sonic Odyssey. So that about does it for today. Of course, tomorrow we'll be continuing north with our very last episode, which will be a huge episode filled with all the hits and misses of the Quantum of the Seas, as we'll finally be able to look back and really review what worked and didn't work on board the ship, as well as take a review of this second sailing of the Quantum Seas and how it compared to that first one. So be sure to tune in to that tomorrow. Of course, I'm Derek Picone, and stay tuned for the links.